Hi guys, it's Mrs. Kushner, and today we are going to tackle the topic of essential story elements. So, in this video, you are going to learn the 5 elements that are essential to all stories, or in other words, that all stories have in common. Whether you are talking about your favorite TV show, or you are talking about a book you read in school, if it has a story, it's going to have these 5 things in common. All right, for this video, you will need your notes pictured right there and a pencil. Go ahead, pause the video, get the supplies you need, and click play when you're ready to go. All right, so I mentioned 5 essential elements. I want to give you a preview of where we're headed. The 5 elements we're going to talk about today are characters, plot, setting, conflict, and theme. We'll dive into each of these in more depth throughout the year, but today you're getting a quick overview and review of what these are. All right, characters. You probably know this definition. They're the people who are in the story. Easy peasy. Now, here's the thing. When I say people, I don't necessarily only mean human people. I mean people in a bigger sense. So it could be animals. For example, the pig in Charlotte's Web, Wilbur, or the spider, Charlotte. It could be Godzilla, so a monster. Could be a robot. If they're a character, they're talking, they're interacting, they're important to the story, even though it says people, not necessarily human people. Now, there's also 4 types of characters that we're going to talk about today. First 2, main characters and supporting characters. Your main characters are the big ones, the big characters who play the biggest roles in a story. So thinking of Wonder, a book or a movie you may have read or seen, your main characters are your characters like Augie or Via or Jack Will. They play the biggest part. Your supporting characters, though, they're still important. They still move the story forward. They just play a smaller role. So maybe like Justin, Augie's friend who moves away from Brooklyn, or Charlotte. Those would be examples of your supporting characters. Now, characters can also be categorized as a protagonist or an antagonist. Now, these protagonist and antagonist could be a main character or a supporting character. Your protagonist is always going to be main, though. And your protagonist is that one most important character in a story, the one who the story is all about. So in the case of Wonder, Augie is your protagonist. Now, antagonist, that first part, ant or anti, means against. So this is the character who's going against the protagonist. So in Wonder, if you think about who's going against Augie, you think of Julian, the school bully, the popular kid. So in the case of Wonder, Julian is going to be your antagonist. All right, next up, plot. The events that happen in a story, here's the second most important part though, in the order that they happen. If you're not talking about the events in order, it's not plot. It's just random things that happen in a story. But as soon as you put them in the right sequence that they happen in the story, then you're talking plot. All right, setting. Now with setting, we can break setting up into 2 pieces, time and place, or in other words, where and when a story happens. So when a story happens, time, this could be the year it happens in. So did it happen in history or did it happen today? Or it could be the time of day. Did it happen during the school day or after the school day? Place, same thing. We could talk about the city it happens in. Does it happen in Brooklyn? Or we could talk about the country it happens in. Does it happen in the US? We can also talk about even more specific place about, does it happen at the character's house, at the character's school? Did it happen at the science fair? All of those things are little pieces that fill in the setting puzzle. Conflict. Now, a conflict is a problem in a story. Here's the thing. A story can have more than one conflict. Just like life, we have more than one problem that might happen in all of our years of life. Well, okay, conflict. Books have more than one problem that happen in a book. And so there's going to be more than one conflict, probably. We can split our conflicts into two categories. Two. So our first category that a conflict could fall into is an internal conflict. And you see so you think inside the character. An internal conflict happens inside the character. So it's going to be emotional or it's going to be mental. So going back to Wonder, still going with that example, I think of Augie. What is the emotional or the mental struggle or problem that he has? And we're going to think, oh, well, he doubts himself. He doubts his worth. He doubts if people will like him. And he worries about those things. It makes him feel bad about himself. Well, that is his internal conflict. But at the same time, that's not the only problem he faces. He also faces external conflicts. And the X, think like exit, and that means out of. So an external conflict is a conflict that happens outside of that character. So it's no longer in his mind. It's something he or she is facing outside, in the outside world. And in the case of Wonder, I instantly think of Julian's bullying and Augie's other classmates bullying him or ignoring him. That is the external conflict that Augie faces. Now, I put a weather cloud to remind us that it doesn't just have to be fights with someone else or bullying. An external problem could also be possibly a weather problem. So it could be a big storm that happened. Like in The Wizard of Oz, there's the big tornado that comes through. That's a big problem. That would be a weather conflict. All right, one more, and that is theme. Your theme is the lesson that a story teaches us. Even the most fun stories, they have a lesson. You see, when an author or a writer creates a story, yeah, they want you to have fun and enjoy their story, but they also want to teach you something. They want you to remember something and apply it to your life. And so that's why I showed a picture of a gift, because the theme is the gift of learning a lesson from a story, and the author wraps it up and hides it in there so you don't even notice that you're doing all this learning. It's there for you to discover as you read or watch. All right, great work today. In this video, you have learned about the 5 essential elements every story has in common. To review, you learned about characters, plot, setting, conflict, and theme. Great work today. See you later.